everyone, Mireya here from Pewter, and welcome to my Biz Talk. Guys, you're not going to believe this, but I have an incredible artist that I'm going to be interviewing right now. His name is Hair by Franco. Yes, guys, have you heard it? Get excited because he's amazing. He's a salon owner. He's a platform artist, and he is a motivational speaker in the beauty industry. Franco, I want you to come out, show everybody, and let's talk a little bit about you because I have so many questions that I want to ask you. But first, tell them a little bit about you.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me here. It's always a pleasure to kind of share my journey and hope that I can inspire others. This coming February will mark 30 years I've been doing hair. I know, I can't believe it sometimes, especially because I remember when I started fresh out of high school and the dreams that I had, and it's been so much more, and I couldn't be any more excited. So through that, I've been able to wear a lot of hats along the journey. I've been a salon owner more than once, been a color educator, platform artist, a director. I've even been in the corporate world where, I work with some beauty retail monsters, I call them, because they're amazing. And so every step that I've taken has been truly a learning journey for me when, being the youngest of 4 boys, Latino, gay, you just never know what you're going to be up against in the world, right? So, but, I even got asked, like, hey, did you go to college? And, I said, yeah, beauty college. But now, 30 years later, I can say that life was my college. So here I am today in the middle of a pandemic, and I'm dealing with that as positive as I can. So.
Amen. And we're going to touch on that subject in a little bit later, but I'm going to ask you, before we even go there, I want to ask you, I've known you for a long time. My mom has seen you on stage. She's one of your biggest fans, and I'm your fan. And I just want to ask you, because I have a lot of people that want to know how. I know you're always seeking opportunities. You're always, in the limelight. How do you even start? How did people get noticed? How did you get noticed by major companies, major brands? What did you do? Because people want to know.
I think it all just started when I really was embracing the industry as a stylist. I wanted more. I just felt like, what more can I do? What more, can I make of this? And through that, I took a very organic path where I just attended a lot of education. I remember as a young stylist, I went to everything I could. And some of those companies started taking notice because they were like, we love that you come to all our events and all our programs. Would you ever be interested in being an educator? And at that time, I didn't even think about it, but I thought to myself, wow, that's kind of cool. And I just thought, what a great way to expand a skill or a passion that I had. So, making yourself available to do things and attempting everything, it really does make a big difference. In the beginning, you don't know what to do. So I say, just absorb it all, just really get involved and you'll find your niche, but let it happen organically. So that's kind of how I remember years ago, I got to work with my first color brand, and they positioned me to start a path of learning and growing. And through that, I found myself honing my skill, and they saw that I was honing my skill, and then they opened me more opportunities, interacting with other artists that I admired. And then before you know it, they're like, you're going to do a large presentation. So I remember just like, I didn't think I would get to that capacity, and I was just so excited. And I had to stop, take a deep breath, and just say, just do what you love. They have you there for a reason. And from there, they just said, you have such connection with people, and they just kept inviting me. And then I got to travel internationally, so it just kind of grew from there. But to your point, it's just what do I recommend? I'm like, get involved, find your niche, don't follow somebody else's niche, and let it happen organically, and you're gonna feel when it's the right thing.
That's incredible. That's incredible. I
Yeah.
love it. Now, okay, so you say that, you got this opportunity to be on stage and everything. You're not mentally prepared to be on stage, right? Like, how do you know that? How do you get that confidence? And how can you share with people what they need to like have their brain like focused on in order to get there? Because people have anxiety when they go on stage. People get nervous.
Absolutely.
People choke, because not a lot of people can do that. What advice can you give someone that is going on stage, even with 20 people viewing them, to a
Right.
thousand people that view you now?
Yeah. Well, we also have to stop and take reality that back in my day, we didn't have social media, we didn't have YouTube, we didn't have all these materials. So I, again, had to really um, try to get to those places to really like be with those that I admired so much. So the artists that I admired, I really wanted to watch them and study them and ask a lot of questions, and there was so much generous personalities and there still is, but back then, like the fact that you even ask, they're so willing to share. So I'm always like, now to the present where there's influencers and there's all this fun stuff, which, um, re-energize my career. But back, it just goes back to the original concept of be genuine, ask questions, reach out. Now you have more resources that you can do that, more places that you can go. And then kind of like the old saying, practice makes perfect. I talked in front of a mirror and, had mannequin and pretend I was doing a presentation. And I would really like evaluate myself and I would be like, oh no, you can't say that, you can't do that. But I also wanted to be my own brand, so I wanted to make sure that that came across too. So important nowadays because no matter what brand you're working with, just remember you're a brand too, because it comes across more genuine that way. So again, practice makes perfect for sure.
You talk about a brand. How did you know that you were a brand? How did you know?
Well, my brand then is much different than my brand now. So, but I knew that I had such a passion and desire for something, and that had to be first. You have to make that decision like, this is what I like to do, whether you're a colorist, whether you're a cutter, extensionist. I happened to, at that time, realize that I was morphing into all of the above. And I didn't really see a lot of that. I just felt like it's kind of cool because I love it all, but you don't see that even now when you go to pages on media, you see the pages that specialize in the vivid color or they specialize in cutting or in balayage, et cetera, et cetera. But you go look at my page at Hair by Franco, and it's an organic blend of so much. They're like, you kind of do it all. So I knew back then that I wanted to do it all. And so that has been my journey all these years. Like, I remember color platforms, and then years later, I was a director for an extension company because I felt that they were like kind of the same niche where it's like, it's all, I guess the way I look at it is I really became the artist of transformation. And I needed all my elements to be there. So now I reach a whole different audience. Like, I have people that have larger following than me, but I have a lot of people that reach out to me and say, you do a lot of things and how did you know? And so I'm just kind of like, I just stayed passionate. I found ways to keep myself passionate, and that was way before social media, which is crazy, right? So then comes social media and more I started seeing. Now I have a journey to share with people all over the world. So then brands started taking noticing because they were on social media. Um, but I guess that in all reality, I really wanted to stay myself. I want to go back to when your mom and I reconnected again many years later, right? I remember the setting very well. It was the Bioionic Style Awards. And you reached out to me and said, you have to come over here. My mom wants to talk to you. She remembers you. And I'm like, oh, really? And the details that your mom gave about me being on a platform with a certain brand and so forth. I'm like, oh my God, this lady really did see me because I remember being there. It was such a neat moment because I obviously left a lasting impression to her, and to hear it many years later, it's very humbling, and to know that my path is reaching out to people along the way. Had a lot of fun doing it. I still have a lot of fun doing it. People always say, like, what were you, like 12 when you started? Good genetics, thanks, mom. But stuff like that doesn't happen every day. It still can happen if we choose to really put ourselves in that mentality, like, I'm doing it because I love it, not because I'm trying to gain followers, not because I'm trying to, you have to do it because you love it. And organically things start to happen. And I think that's continued to be my mantra now. I'm like, let it happen.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So you explained it so beautiful of people don't realize that they are the brand. And you
Mhm.
explained yourself working with these major brands, traveling the world, working for someone else or working for a salon. A lot of stylists and people don't realize that they are the brand. And you explained it so perfectly because you are the brand. When you go on stage, you're presenting yourself. Even if you're presenting another brand, you're presenting yourself. You're talking about the product, you're doing everything, but you are the brand. People remember you. You have a beautiful soul, and I love it. You did awesome. I love that. I love that. I do,
Mm.
because people need to realize that they are the brand. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I know you're sitting right now, and I know you're sitting behind your salon. And guys, he is from California. And right now, unfortunately, he's going through a tough time. They closed down a lot of salons, right? Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Wow. It's gotten really hard to talk about it without getting emotional, but I've gotten stronger in the last months. But my husband and I, he's amazingly supportive with my career, and I just said, I've been in California 10 years. I said, and I think I just want to go ahead and open a salon to where I've owned it in the past, but never in California. And I said, I want a place to call home. I want to hang my hat. I want to be creative, and I want creative people around me. And obviously, we had to make that decision of our savings and our money, and that we wanted a house. Well, buying a house in California is not easy. So, but this is now my house, my salon, and so we opened on February 23rd, and 3 weeks later, we got shut down. So now I'm just like, whoa, everything's invested, right? The brand new salon. But, experience taught me, um, and a message that I want to send to other aspiring future salon owners is like, don't over square footage yourself. That's the biggest mistake you can make. Oh, I want this big salon, all these stations. That kind of start with something obtainable that you can master, because I've had large salons in the past. This one's 1,150 square feet. It's really cute. Um, but I took it because I knew I can carry it on my back if I really, really had to. So I had to make that decision. So although right now, we're not profiting. It wasn't about profiting. Definitely right now we're not profiting. But I did have a new team. I opened up 75% filled, and now I feel compelled to help them because it was their journey too. They were like taking on a dream, and we're all doing this together. And so I've had to really, in such a short time, endure a lot with this new project. Sometimes I come to the salon, just I clean it still, even though nobody's in it. But there's a sense of pride of being able to do that, and it helps me mentally. And then, I reach out to my team, and I'm just kind of like, let's all get together at the salon. We're not taking clients, but let's do each other's hair. So we'll do things like that just to stay positive and motivated. But we're going to get through it. I really feel that we're going to come back swinging. I utilized this time. Now we got shut down March 13th, then we reopened, and then 4 weeks later got shut down again. So I got hit twice. So I woke up during this whole thing, and while people were like really stressed and really like, I said, okay, how can I be better than yesterday? How can I learn from this experience? I put in additional savings to keep the doors open because they didn't give us any deals on the rent. But um, I still had to stop and think of like what that return was going to look like. I still stayed talking to my guests. I still started doing curbside service. And then we also took on some more modern twist to our business because being a past salon owner, I remember back I had to go through the recession. You know, I had a salon during the recession. But the difference to that to now is back then I could still touch people. Now I can't touch anybody. So I had to get tech savvy and, you know, things of a modern age that I saw were happening anyways. This pushed me to really focus on those things like online purchasing and, you know, doing curbside service. So I took on a brand that I remember early in my career I was exposed to, and full circle now they're a brand partner to me. And so I said, you know, I want to get back to wellness. I want to get back to, you know, getting back in touch with the world. I want to really give my clients a different caliber of service, like not just the look on the outside, but the feel on the inside. And I wanted to be more conscious of the things that I was putting on their skin. All these things started happening during this pandemic because now my eyes are open to things that I didn't do before. And now, you know, when people sit in my chair, I want them to walk away knowing that I cared not just about the outside, but on the inside too. So our business is changing. It's evolving right now. We're excited for when we do open the door because our whole mentality is so different. Like now there's a mission behind it. I think when you open a business, you should have a mission behind it. So I'm excited because I know they're going to notice the difference when they come back, you know, and you know, people come stressed out. I remember we opened and we had like the partitions and the mask and all these things, but I just sat them down the first time and I just sprayed something to it kind of seeped into the mask and I rubbed their shoulders for a little bit because I made them get a temperature check and I made them wash their hands. Now they're already stressed before they sit down. And so I said, no. And that was the triggering moment where I said, I got to change my business motto. I have to be different. I have to let them know it's all about them, that they see us as essential, but they're just as essential to us. So we're connecting to that. And I think this was very eye-opening and very eye-opening when I talk on a platform that your craft and your business need to be balanced. Because if one hurts, the other one suffers. You can be the best hairdresser in the world, but if you're not managing your business properly, you're not getting the full incentive out of your business. And they need each other. And this was very eye-opening. 3 salons later, mind you. But I think that that's really going to be the key to my success and being successful around others is to be able to put that wellness and just that ease back into our craft.
Amen. I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, you are so awesome. And, you know, adapting to hard situations, you know, we all have to go through them. And the only way to win is adapting to it. And you are adapting to the situation. And it's obviously, you know, it's hard. It's hard for the world, right? What we're all going through, but adapting fast and what you're doing to change, you know, your salon, your everything. And your number one priority is your customers. I love it. You're awesome. You know, positive, like you're saying, you know, you're going into the salon, you're getting that, you know, energy, you go in there and you clean it up. You know, positivity is really the best medicine, and keeping up with mental health is, you know, the best thing to do. What are you doing besides cleaning the salon, you know, to de-stress yourself? What are you doing for that?
Yeah. Well, you know, I didn't know if we can share brands or whatnot, but I did rekindle my relationship with Aveda because they're all about that. You know, and I didn't connect to it as an early hairdresser as I do now. So, you know, it's like it was there all along, but now it's like it really touches the senses in a whole different way for me because I find myself meditating more than I did before, and how the senses play a big part of that. Like certain aromas and certain like things. And that's what I'm saying, like getting back and actually delivering a service to a guest in a whole different way. Like they come in stressed from work or stressed from pandemic, whatnot. And now I take a moment to calm them down and then relax. So I also had to do that for myself. So I found myself reading. I actually like audiobooks a lot lately, but I'll turn on a candle and I'll spray things around. And I didn't do that before. I didn't give myself me time. I was always up and work related things, up and work related things, which in turn, you have to make sure there's a home and life balance. So I found that, getting my husband involved, I'm like, hey, let's go do this on this day. And then I share, to be honest, like we take at least, we're watching television, like I had to force myself to watch television. And I'll rub his feet in the evening, because he's working. And then I'll ask him to rub my hands because my hands hurt, But we started taking more time to do those things. And they're so comforting. It's minor, but it's major at the same time. And then we talk about our day also doing that. So, he's in the retail industry and he goes to work every day and he's exposed to people. And so I'm grateful to people like him, but at the same time, he needs to come home and be recharged mentally as well as physically. And so I found that need is so important, especially as crazy hairdressers are. We don't do that for ourselves. And back in the day, it was party, 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 which wasn't very good either. But now I just take a step back. I take time. When I give myself 30 minutes to process the thoughts of the day or process the thoughts of the evening, then I can set a plan moving forward. I can set up a better plan for the day. I can lay out my day better, or even when I come home and I relax a minute and then I'm like, okay, let me write these notes of what I need to do tomorrow, and then don't think about nothing else after that. So those are things that I found myself doing, and I was really grateful that I have the tools to share it with my colleagues as well as my guests. And I hope I can make a difference. I think that in this stretch of my career, I realized how important it is to pay it forward. I remember the first salon I ever worked at, and I asked somebody to help me with something, the manager, and he snapped at me and said, "What am I, your beauty school instructor?" I remember how I felt at that time. And I remember throughout the years that I would never let anybody feel that way. My team comes to me, they text me, they call me, Instagram DMs all the time. It's just, if I can give something back, make a difference. I had a gal last night. I'm from a small town and I can't access this and that. Can you share your formula on the blue that you did? And I said, absolutely. I said, one size doesn't fit all, but I'm going to let you know what I used. And then make it your own, because that's color, right? I always say, like, I'm one artist, many paints. So, the same thing, when you share formulas, which I think you should, your hands are yours. That's going to be the difference. But the formula just kind of helps us reach the creativity that we want to be. So all those things really make a difference. I didn't think that way before. I think this way now. And I hope that others can learn through my experience.
That's why I have you on. And guys, if you're married or you're single, get your guy or your girl to massage those feet. I swear I'm going to make my husband do that to me too. Thanks. It's so good. I love it.
I'm not the best, but I try.
Okay, it's perfect. I actually, for my mental health, I actually walk in the woods for 20 minutes. I go walking every day, and I like to walk in the woods because, trees are the energy of the world, right? And being around nature just makes you escape reality. I don't know, it just makes me zen. And I work 7 days a week, and I have a very hard job, and I always tell people the best medicine is nature. And walking in the woods is a very important thing to do in life, just so you could zen and escape reality for 20 minutes. So that's
Yeah, it's so important because, if you're traveling, my experience, I travel internationally, and sometimes sitting in my room, no matter where I'm at, like you said, for a moment, sometimes I'll open the window and look at the scenery. That's as close to nature I can get sometimes. it makes a huge difference. Yeah,
Mhm.
it really does. Yeah. Mhm.
All right, businessman over here. I want to hear what are some mistakes you wished you would have avoided in business?
I think definitely, like I was saying earlier, I over square footage myself too fast. I think, for those that have larger salons, they would probably tell you that they grew into it, or it was a whole different plan. So you have a lot of hopes, dreams, aspirations, etc. But you kind of have to learn as you grow. So that was one thing that I learned early on. And I also think communication, not just in your home relationship, but your work relationships, is very important. Because if you're like not on the same level, it can really make things very haywire and chaotic. So that was something I had to learn a long time ago. But through that, sometimes people's aspirations or goals change, which is why the communication is so important. So rather than holding on to that for the wrong reasons, it's okay to kind of like, sometimes you have to let, like they say, let something go. And if it's meant to come back, it will. Um, I always held on to everything because I didn't want to lose nothing. But in essence, you weren't losing anything. Sometimes things are for a reason or a season, and sometimes you gotta let little birdies go sometimes. And it's okay. And I didn't think that way before. Um, so that's definitely something I learned along the way for sure. Uh,
And that's good.
mhm,
That's really good. A lot of people think that when they fail, they can't move on. They're
mhm,
like, okay, we're not going to continue doing this. Like failing is a part of nature, and
yeah.
it's the best medicine to do when you have a business or when you're starting. You learn from the mistakes. Those are the ones that are going to get you to the next level. I've made a zillion mistakes. I started in a 600 square foot salon, $12 haircuts. I grew a
Mhm,
company that sold in over 42 countries, and guess what, guys? I messed up a lot. And I learned from
mhm,
all of those mistakes, just like you have. And
yeah.
you can't avoid them, but you got to learn from them 100%.
Mhm,
Franco, guys, I have Franco on here. And, going to these hair shows, I mean, going to these hair shows, everybody loves to go to the hair shows, right? Well, everybody has their little sheet, little paper, and they're all looking for the best artist to do color. Well, he's been on that list for thousands of women and men because he's the best educator in color. And seeing him on stage creating these amazing, and I want to say, I'm not even exaggerating, guys, go follow him on his page, I'll put it right here, but his colors are totally next level, someone you need to learn from. I want to ask you, how the heck did you get that how do you get that inspiration? Because these
mhm.
are really outside the box kind of colors, and we all want to know. Come on, give it to us.
Ah, well, I mean, I think that there's no greater moment to say like continuing your education is key because, I mean, again, 30 years later, right? I mean, there's still times when I'm like, I don't know if I can do that or not. But then I reach out, and I educate myself. And you know what? I think some people, when they hear the word free, they kind of cringe. But there's times I have to do some free hair to master something because I'm not going to charge for something I'm not comfortable with. Or, a lot of my house is full of mannequins. So I do a lot of those things. I'm no different. I have to overcome challenge. I have to face fear. And, it was like, I past interview, like, some people think that you filter your work or whatnot. I go, you know what? I don't have to. And it's a compliment when they tell me that because I do a lot of those on video as well. And I'm sorry, but I can't filter a video. So there you go. Um, but it's just, I made mistakes like everybody else and I had to learn from them and I had to keep going, right? So now I'm taking on a big monster. I'm taking on the North American Hairstyling Awards, right? And I'm just like, I always had the mentality that you had to be rich, or have a huge sponsor or whatnot. I just really had to trust myself and trust myself in something like that. and trust those around me, because I'm a control freak and I have to have my hands on everything. I had to learn how to delegate, how to learn how to let go. I had to trust the photographer I hired. He helped me pick the models. And then even with the hair techniques, my collection took me 2 weeks because it wasn't good enough for me. I keep trying, keep trying, keep trying. And then finally I said, stop being so in control and let some things happen. So I just kind of started doing stuff. And all of a sudden, like the inspiration it was not even the original inspiration. It became something different. And I started picturing for one of my collections was the operatic divas of the 1800s, and I started seeing like some beautiful hat pieces, which is my nominated collection. That was not planned. So even with some of my stage presentations, it was the same thing where like, I know the brand wants me to do this and this, but I had to turn around and say, well, this is what it's turning into, and I really like it. And I know they're going to love it. So you have those moments where you have to just not be such a control freak, trust your instinct. And same thing with color. It's just kind of like, well, I'm going to mix this and this and see what it does, and suddenly I'm like, oh, I think I like this. But, now I'm like, everybody sees me doing vivid colors and so forth. And I have some stylists my age or, my season level, and they're like, I can never do that. I'm like, hold on a minute. I'm like, you already know how to lighten hair. And that's half the battle. I said, so if you lighten the hair, now you have the platform to put your vivid color. You didn't even know you're a vivid colorist. So it's been like discoveries like that I've had along the way.
Well, you are incredible. And I've known, like I said, I've known Franco for a long time. He inspires me, motivates me. And if that happens to me, that's gonna happen to you too, the minute you see him. I know him through the trade shows, and traveling to doing hair shows, but I haven't been to his salon. I haven't been to his salon. And I started looking because before I interview people, I always want to like, maybe I'm missing something, right? So I go on his social media and I'm looking at his new salon, guys. It's gorgeous. It's freaking gorgeous. And I get a lot of questions because I do a lot of shows also. I'm a motivational speaker, and I get asked a lot from stylists asking me, Mireya, how do I start a salon? Where do I go and look? Franco, I'm going to ask you those questions. I want you to help me, answer those questions for these women. They're booth renters, they work at salons, but they want to start their own business and they don't know where to start. Can you help?
Right. Yeah. Experience definitely showed me this time around when I got this location. I wanted to create a shell. I wanted to create something very simple, very modern, very clean. And in the beginning, I had some outsiders that are not industry related, like, oh, it's so plain. It's so, oh, you're still not done. I'm just kind of like, no, that's the aesthetic. I wanted it really clean. But my purpose behind that is because as time goes on, I'm going to be adding things as I go, because you have to live in the space before you know what to alter your space. And I tell you, like right now with the pandemic and we're closed, I've moved my salon around like 8 times already. Like, oh, maybe this will go here. Nope, they're like, oh, this will go here. But I'm glad I had the time to do it because now I know what I like and I don't like. Next week, we're adding lights for the chandeliers. We kind of held back on that. And we're doing it now because I realized of what I wanted. And so everything's in layers is my point. Like when you start a business, don't feel like you have to invest all your money and get everything in there. Like get the shell, and then as your salon succeeds, you start doing things. And that's kind of like a good visual for you. Like, hey, I'm on track because now I'm able to add these beautiful chandeliers, or now I'm able to add this. And it also keeps your team motivated because then they're like, oh my God, I love the way you redid the sinks or something, small. So that's what I was saying earlier when we were talking. You said you saw the salon. I go, oh, there's so much coming, because in my mind, I'm like, I want to see this creative space evolve. So right now it's very clean, it's very simple, and I've been adding as I go. So that's my advice to everybody. Like, number one, don't square footage yourself until the opportunity shows itself. And then you can kind of keep adding as you go. You're going to sign a lease. So you're not going anywhere. So it's just kind of like, just kind of grow with your space, live in it, and your instinct will tell you what to do next.
Any advice on where they could even find those sinks or that furniture? Like any good companies that you're like, oh my God, I love.
Yeah, for sure. I'm a Googler. I Google everything. And it's definitely like investing time to kind of research. And sometimes the weirdest click words that you can use, the internet's amazing. And, I love looking at other countries and see how they are. They influence us, we influence them, and bring some of that flavor to your vision. So also some of the artists that we follow, like I'll go to their salon and look around as well too, because they live in their space and something has been successful in their space too. um, but that's a good way to kind of start. But keep that open mind. You might change along the way. Like nothing is permanent. I purposely didn't build anything onto my walls because I knew I could move it around at any time. So that's another thing that I learned along the way.
Well, you are amazing. Amazing.
Mhm.
Guys, I
Thank
love
you.
him and I know you're going to love him too. Please follow Franco. I'm going to put all of his information on here. I want to say thank you, Franco, for being on our podcast. Thank you, everyone, for viewing. And you could say your goodbyes, Franco.
Thanks everybody. I appreciate you letting me share my journey. And again, you guys can always reach out to me as well too. So
Thank
thank
you, guys.
you.
Bye.